talking about revenge. Said I'm talking about revenge. Bitch, I'm all about a dollar. You niggas ain't talking about shit. Cause I'm talking about revenge.
What I want right now is more so narrowing down what I know for sure that I don't want. Like, and me, I've been thinking long term. Are y'all ready? Really?
Like, but in a weird way, like it stopped ringing and then the voicemail came on. So I was like, what the fuck is this shit? So then I called back again and it rang. So I was like, okay. And that's when I left you your voicemail because I realized your number has hella fours in it.
Yes.
Like hella fours. Your number's like
basically just the
6,
number
7, 8,
4.
yeah, just number 4 like 7 times. So then you were telling me how 4 is your favorite number?
My life path number.
Your life path number.
Yeah.
So explain that to me again.
If you're into numerology, well, I'll start over. If you're into astrology, that's kind of like a base, more generic version of personality traits and who you might become and how you are.
Right.
But numerology is more who you are, and it's very catered to you specifically. Like, it uses the letters from your name, only your name. So it's more specific, where astrology is very vague. But you have your life path number, your destiny number. So if you're kind of at a place in life where you're not sure, the direction or where you might end up, it's really good, I think, to look into numerology just to give yourself some guidance and some insight.
How long have you been following that?
Maybe a year and a half.
Just a year? So you just now finding out that that's your life number?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know what made me go digging for it, but I think I was just in that place of searching for answers. And so that's what I did. I started searching.
Was there anything else you found out during that time?
Yeah. So my version of the 4, there are certain things called karmic numbers. Like, say your number adds up to a 31. You would condense that into just one number. 3 plus 1 is 4. Mine in this case is 13, which still equals 4, but it's a karmic number. Like, their karmic numbers is like 13, 16, 18, something like that. But basically you have debt. Like, I have karmic debt that I have to repay in this lifetime. And I have to work extremely, extremely hard to like overcome adversity.
What?
Yeah. It was very interesting. But I mean, I know when I first found out, I was like crying. I thought I was cursed.
I was like, bro, to be going on a path of looking for some sort of enlightenment and you found out you owe niggas something, like, that's gotta be like...
I was crying. I was like, oh my God, I'm cursed. Like, what am I gonna do? And I started digging deeper to figure out, okay, there's no way I can be cursed. I'm a good person.
Right.
And the information that I found was saying that it's not so much of a curse, but more so you just, again, a debt that has to be repaid so you can start back at 0. So I have to, hear the 10,000 no's before I get the one yes. And as long as you don't give up and you persevere, like, you can still succeed at the same rate as anyone else.
Beyond that, is there any like breakdown as far as like are there like conditions or like terms that the repay has to be done? Like,
no, not that I could see, but just in my experience, I would say it's helped me when things don't pan out how I think they should or how I want them to. I recall that. And so I don't feel, so let down by just anybody.
Right.
Like, my expectations aren't as high, I guess, as they used to be. So I'm not so naive anymore, and I just am not as gullible and like, yes, putting all my eggs in one basket.
Right.
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing that I found out. Yeah.
How much of that would you give like time served, like to everything you've been to up to this point? Would you be or do you feel like it started over once you found it?
No, I feel like, well, just me knowing my entire life, I feel like up to that point, I had gone through most of it. And I feel right now I'm probably at about 95%, and I'm just on the horizon of everything finally like catching up to me, because I started doing music, you know, a while ago, and it was the same story, you know, like almost here, almost at the threshold, just couldn't quite get over that hump. But I feel like I'm spiritually in a better place, especially after finding that out, and now I can pretty much drive through anything.
So what do you feel like your approach or your growth has been from that starting point in regards of knowing what you know now and analyzing it?
I feel like I just didn't know shit. Like
Right. Yeah.
I wish I would have been one of those people who's like, what would you tell, you know, your younger self, like, so that everything could be different. But I don't think I would appreciate it as much if everything had happened so quickly. 100%. I've grown a lot and I've matured a lot as far as just being around people and a functioning member of society as an adult. I've learned a lot. Going back to school, like college is giving me another experience that I can use in my music and just being successful. Yeah.
How has college affected it? Because you're in school for
journalism,
right? And so did you take up journalism simply because you are an artist and you write, or was there already a pre-existing interest in that?
I had to get to that point.
Okay.
Because I had gone to school before and I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I changed my major 2 times. I transferred schools, didn't like the school, transferred back. Like, it was a lot of figuring it out. And so I think these last few years, I've just had that time to step back and figure out like who I really am and what I like. And going over all of it, I'm a writer. Like, that's what I enjoy the most, whether it's music or just writing out my thoughts, writing about these stories that I'm getting. I just enjoy it. I like words, you know, and putting them together and making sense of things.
Hi kids, I'm Miloh Smith, and the word of the day is nepotism. What is nepotism? Nepotism is the practice among those with power or influence of favoring relatives or friends, especially by giving them jobs. So what's an example of nepotism? Our 45th president, Donald Trump, and his daughter, Ivanka Trump, and her husband, Jared Kushner, and his son, Donald Trump Jr., and the list goes on. I'm Miloh Smith with One Could Argue. See you later.
As far as what makes up Miloh, I guess the core of it seems to be really consistent. You've consistently been like a super chill vibe person. So it seems as though that growth maybe came from, for instance, I was talking to Groove the other day and we was just talking about, you know, how to just improve on a bunch of different things.
Right.
And naturally, in thinking about improvement, I just started talking about adding stuff on. I was like, okay, well, if I do this and then I start doing this, and he was like, relax, like, what are you already doing? What are certain areas of that you haven't looked at yet? And you could just do that much better.
Right.
And it will give you an overall better experience within what you're doing. So with you having the same just demeanor, energy for the most part, it seems as though it's probably just been a process of you like refining certain things.
That would
and I'm
be
curious
exactly the word.
What those things were.
A lot of it, the refinement process, is just acceptance, because there's so much out there, and you're looking, and it's natural to just kind of compare yourself and like, well, what's different about me and what's different about them? And you see all of these things that are happening for other people. And you're like, well, maybe if I try this, maybe that's better. How you said you want to add on to improve, when I think it's more so about shaving down the layers to who you really are. And that's what makes you stand out. You know, just being unique in that very specific way that only you can be.
You've always been one of those people where it seems like you always know Miloh's around somewhere, but you don't know what the fuck she's doing. There's certain people who fit into that space where it's like, I don't know what's going on, like a Jay Electronica or something like that. It's like, I don't know what the fuck he's doing, but I'm sure he's somewhere doing something nuts. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm just curious to what goes on in that in-between time in regards of your creation process. Like, how do you absorb information or music, or like what do you do in between time to just build? And
a lot of my time is just spent observing and taking information in so that I can get the experience that I need to make my own art, you know, and just, again, learning through trial and error and learning through the mistakes of other people too, like knowing what I want for myself and also knowing what I don't want, like seeing it out there and knowing like, oh no, I could never do that. Right. Or I could get behind that, you know what I mean? So just taking all of those pieces and putting it together so it's something that's my own. But I spend a lot of time just creating, making my own stuff. I haven't really been enmeshed in the culture probably as much as I used to be, even though I still am like lurking in the shadows. I really do enjoy like making my own songs to listen to, drafting my own concepts, shows, all of those things. Yeah.
Cause you do everything, bro. You have a fucking garden in the back of your house. Like, you be painting, you be doing all kind of shit. It's just like, this nigga just be making all kind of shit. It's stuff. Like, that shit is crazy. I was like, bro, when I actually went and seen it, I was like, yo, I was expecting like a little patch of dirt that you call my own. You know what I mean? Like, this motherfucker got a whole legit greenhouse in the back of her crib. I was like, bro, what the? And I think somebody built it, like you and your dad or you and your uncle built it.
My uncles.
Like, what the hell?
My play white country uncles.
That is nuts. How's that been going?
Great. We have harvest every year. You know, we can make pico de gallo and bell
niggas
peppers.
can pull up on Myro and get the fruit and veggies,
real fresh fruit and vegetables like strawberries, plums. We got oranges, cherry tree now. It's lettuce.
That is
watermelon.
Nuts.
Yeah. It's enjoyable. And I think, you know, when it's...
I'm bugging out, like, bro.
In the seasons, the harvest is about to come. You know, the weather's warming up, so we should start seeing those blooms real soon. It's exciting.
Have you learned anything from that's just affected you just in life, period? I don't know if it's patience or waiting for stuff to grow, or like...
I feel like I have a ton of patience just naturally, but I've learned to appreciate our environment a lot more. Like, I started recycling because it matters to me much more now to see it grow from nothing and be able to enjoy it and eat it and have it, you know. Just out there in the woods living my best life.
Crazy. Yeah. Oh, so one time I recorded a podcast. Me and Roop, I sat down.
But you didn't record.
But I didn't record. 2 hours later, I was like, yo, the camera died. As soon as we got done, it was like, yo, this is perfect. I went, nothing was there. I was like, so now we have to ask ourselves this question before we get moving. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's never going to be the same.
But yeah, yo, you do a lot of, I really just want to take a second to talk about all of the creative things that you do, because when I came to your crib, it was like a museum of sorts.
Okay.
Because I came to the crib, and firstly, everything around you was sort of just like a creative abyss. If you're creative and you like understand how to be resourceful, it's like there's a bunch of shit around you that can be used in a resourceful way. And then I seen your greenhouse in the back, the whole Elon Musk setup. And then when I came upstairs, you had your creative corner. That was nuts. I was like, yo, I wouldn't know where this was if I was looking. I have no idea. And then I looked on the wall and I saw was it Brent?
Yeah. Brent Fires.
So I looked on the wall and I see this paint. I'm like, that's crazy. I mean, I have vinyls up in my room of shit. I was like, oh, that's dope. Miloh got a little, what's the name? And she was like, yeah, I painted that. I was like, what? Like, this nigga painted the fucking... Because I think, didn't he use that for the album art?
Yeah.
This nigga Miloh painted the fucking cover for his album. And I was like, who does shit like that? Like, it was fire. Like, it was fire, though.
Random.
Like
Thank you.
it was so random. Like that shit was fire.
I mean, I didn't expect it either. I'm grateful for the opportunity.
What made you do that? Like what?
I started painting. Well, I've always been drawing since I was a young kid, and I decided to start painting a few years ago. And I sent a couple pictures out because I was just so excited, like, oh, look what I did. Mm-hmm. And I ended up being commissioned for that piece.
That's crazy.
Funny story. Like, even my brother's girlfriend, I think she just recently discovered him. Mm-hmm. And he sent me a screenshot of her screenshot saying, like, haven't I seen this in your bathroom? Did your sister
crazy.
do it? Yeah.
Now that I'm saying this out loud, it seems like everything that you're interested in is something that takes patience. And for you being someone who said you've always been good at patience, people who paint, it usually takes a long time to get something how you want it. And it takes a long time to wait for seeds to turn into fruit and harvest and stuff like that. And songs, it takes time to sit down and get your emotions out and word things how you want them to. So just right now, saying that out loud, I'm just like, that's a crazy theme of just your creative process.
Yeah, well, painting is a slower process too, because you just have to wait for things to dry. And if you want clean, sharp lines, you have to move at a snail's pace and just be very steady. I feel like I have so much confidence if, like, dude wants me to give him a haircut, I feel like I can accomplish that. You cut hair? I don't.
I was about to say, bro.
I don't, but I feel like I could do it. Yeah, I could do well just because I have very steady hands, and I know y'all take that very seriously. But,
Facts.
you know, ideally, I feel like I would want to be a person that could cut hair if need be. If we're in an emergency situation, I can handle it.
Yeah, for sure. I think you should though. You should give it a go.
I should get into that.
You should give it a go,
because
bro.
I need something else to do.
You should. You should. Next time you have one of your little hiatuses, your little chill times,
just come up with a barber's license.
Come back with an ill shadow fade. Just be like, like, yo, Miloh got the dark seasons, the shadow fades on lock, bro.
That's so funny.
So when I called you, I found out it just so happened that you were working on music, which was just great. Because I was like, holy shit. I asked you to send me some stuff, and you sent me. I was like, no, I said I wanted to do some performance stuff, and you were saying that you were wrapping up some stuff. And I was like, you're working on new shit? So I was like, holy shit, like, this is fucking perfect timing. So the shit that you sent me was fire as fuck.
Thank you.
I didn't get a chance to listen to it that night because Apple email, when you listen to stuff through email, it's stupid. But I listened to it the next morning, and then I don't know if I called you the next morning. I think I called you.
You did call me.
Yeah, I called you the next morning, like 8:30, like 9 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, nigga, I just listened to, like, the first song you sent me 2 songs. The first song I listened to like 10 times in a row. And then I made it to this next song. But both of them shit was fire.
Thank you.
I like when you're in your, like, lo-fi, Miloh, Sade, chill vibe.
Thank you.
But what is this process? What got you to now being like, okay, I'm ready to put, was it like, oh, one day I just made a song and it was like, I think I'm in this vibe right now? Or was it like, yo, it's time for me to put some music out?
No, I knew what I wanted to do for a long time. But again, it was just circumstances, like things kind of falling through, like the bottom falling out of situations that I thought were very secure. It was supposed to be done a long time ago, but me just moving around and not really having like a home as far as being a creative, it slowed the process down a lot. And I just had to step back and kind of rework everything, but all in good timing because I love the project where it is now. Like, I've been able to work with new people who I probably wouldn't have had that same opportunity to had it been done and finished, you know, when I wanted to.
What have you gathered from yourself? So the reason why I asked this is because I was looking up some older interviews and stuff that you've done. And there was an interview that you did where you were discussing, I can't remember the name of the song, but I think in the name, I think it was called Let Go or Let It Go or something like that. I think it was a song about one of your relatives who had like passed or something like that.
Oh, Get It All.
Get It All.
I do remember that.
And I remember, or you mentioned something about how the song you had got some like backlash for doing the song. So I'm curious if that had an effect on like how you approach your music in regards of like maybe how personal you get or what you choose to get personal about, or was it just like it is what it is, like
Oh my
I'm
gosh. Yes. I think about that a lot, and I wish it was different. But I can sense myself making strides to be freer in that and not really let negative external forces influence my process, because this was my mom, you know what I mean? So anybody else, it probably wouldn't have mattered as much, but I mean, she was furious. Like, I felt like I hurt her, but I think I just had to realize that she and I are very different as far as being vulnerable and wanting to share our very relatable experiences, you know. She just kind of comes from a different generation where, you know, don't be telling nobody our business, and, you know, what goes on in this house stays in this house and all of that. But I think that's what I need to come to grips with what I'm going through. Like, I need to get it out of my system and share it with people and tell people what I'm going through. So I have a song on the project that's coming out that is very personal, and it even kind of like takes a couple jabs at her a little bit. So she probably not gonna like that one either, but that's just something I had to get over, like for my own sanity, my own sake. Yeah.
Okay, so one thing I for sure did want to talk to you about is your growth as a woman.
Okay.
Because I think you are very intriguing.
Okay. What does that mean?
No, I think you're intriguing because I think it ties into before. It's like energy that you carry. You're just so cool that it's just like you defy gender in that way, and that's even outside of what is currently going on. But it just makes me. I say the word intriguing because it makes me wonder how does someone like yourself define or grow as a woman in the world, really? You know what I mean? Especially someone who's, like I said, you're not really someone who's just out here just expressing heartache and all this other shit that other people do. You know what I mean? So it's just like, okay, what do you think about? Do you think about relationships? Do you think about I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a woman, so I don't understand what I'm learning about women just period every day. Like women who are very vocal about stuff, and you got to decipher it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like to have a relationship with someone who doesn't necessarily do that. I feel like it takes you going the extra mile to infer or ask the question to see what is the interest, what are you thinking about? What do you like? How's this journey for you? What are you learning about yourself? What are you learning about the type of woman that you are? You know what I mean? So that's really my question. It's sort of a loaded question, but not really. I hope it's not too much.
No, I completely understand.
Okay, cool.
I've acknowledged now, and I accept that I'm a little bit more on the masculine side. Like, I'm not the most feminine woman, but I do have feminine ways.
Right.
And I consider myself to be feminine and very much a woman, even though I don't wear like high heels and skirts. Those aren't things that I like.
Right.
But I'm learning that not everyone thinks like me. I kind of am not very gender specific, like be it when it comes to me and how I view men or how I view women, just because I sit very much at that equilibrium. I try not to pass judgment and would hope that people aren't passing it on me. But as far as how much I've grown as a woman, I've learned to deal with men much more than I guess I used to, because I didn't have very much experience with that. I was never like boy crazy. I think I liked B5 a lot, but as far as dating and courtship and all of those things, I'm very green. Right. Like, I'm super late bloomer. But now that I'm maturing and I'm kind of getting and putting myself out there, I'm learning a lot, and it's difficult for me because I don't know if I like what I'm seeing, you know, or maybe it's just where we're headed just as a culture, as a society. But I had to definitely take a step back and learn myself and what I'm looking for and what I'm seeking as far as growing and interacting with the world. And I've accepted who I am more so. Like, it really used to bother me when people would, I guess, assume that I was a lesbian or bisexual or something like that. I'd be like, why? Is it because I wear jeans? And now I know, like, well, yeah, it kind of is. Like, you don't really show that side of yourself. But I just choose to share whatever it is I choose to share. And I think it has a lot to do with, again, just my parents and my family being very conservative and how they raised me. It's so taboo for me to talk about things like that explicitly with just no one in particular, which is what music is. You know, you're just giving it to everyone all at the same time. Those very intimate conversations, I like to keep them intimate just with a small group of people, if not one person.
That answers it perfectly, because I think, yeah, it's not something that, like I said, just as a man who is just still learning and growing, there's certain people that you come across in intimate space, and I think sometimes it's good to, because even I think when you encounter certain people within an intimate space, I think the familiarity can allow you to take for granted that you already understand it, so you don't ask those questions.
Right, yeah.
So I think when you're able to experience it with someone who you're not as familiar with, it heightens that sense of just interest in those things to ask, like, I wonder about this. You know what I mean? And then once you learn it, it's like, oh, well, now let me take this back to my inner circle and try this out or ask this question.
I kind of like that sense of wonder, though, like the mystique.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Because I just feel like if I give so much and am very explicit and great detail, then people start to assume.
Right.
And that's one of the worst things to me, like, because you don't know. But you're talking to me as if you know, and it's me and I know. Like, that can't be right.
Right.
So I know it sounds like, oh wow, so you make very vague music, but in a sense I would say, yeah, like it's just enough. I feel I share just enough to keep just a bit of myself for myself. Because I hate when people assume. I don't like to assume. You know, it can do a lot of damage. So with that being said, and like I said, when I made the statement of like you really just defying gender, it seems so fitting right now because of the conversation that the world is having. But that's just always been the case. I just wouldn't have necessarily been able to bring attention to or describe it in that way. Yeah. So I'm curious, with everything that's going on right now, do you look at that in relation to you, like, okay, maybe this is a good time for people to be open to understanding the type of person that I am, in regards of, instead of me having to be the one that's like, okay, let me explain to you motherfuckers what's going on. You know what I mean? I would say, yeah. I mean, I've been feeling like it's the perfect time for me to be exactly who I am. How
do you figure out what you want? Because like I said, for someone like me, that's constantly changing. Like, I talk to the guys all the time. Sometimes I'll feel a way on Monday and I'll feel an entirely different way by Tuesday because of new information that's been presented. So there's a few things that have remained consistent regardless of the information. It may just, to that conversation we had before, I might just go back within it and tweak something. But there are certain things where it's like, yo, I don't necessarily value this as much as I did. I'm not about to act like I do because I felt this way for 10 years. It's like, it's wrong. Like, you don't fuck with it. Like, let it go. You know what I mean? So do you find yourself in those spaces? Are those things where you're like, yo, at first I really thought this was a thing for me and I realized it's not. This is just something I was always told. That this is just something I read in a book one day and it sounded cool, so I figured I'd make that a pillar of my character. You know what I mean? Just shit like that.
I feel like that happens to everybody 10 times over throughout their life. You know, like, I can't say for sure I'm going to be this person in the next 10 years. I'll probably want some of the same things, but as life happens to people, like, things change. But as far as figuring out what I want right now, it's more so narrowing down what I know for sure that I don't want. Like, and me, I've been thinking long term. Like, I anticipate getting older. Now that I am older, I anticipate it. Like, what's going to be next for me. And looking back, especially now that we live in this era where everything is so documented and everything can be, like, called upon at any given time. It's like you have to prepare for that. So I feel like that's what I'm doing, is preparing for that. Like, who do I want to be versus who I am at all times.
With this project, what did you set out to do? Anything specifically? What is you've had times where you said, hey, this project is like, I think with like Sweet 404, you was like, okay, this is literally, I think it was Sweet 404 or it was Pulp Fiction, it was one of the two, but you was like, with this one, the intent is just to show progression. So with this one, is it pretty much the consistent theme of progression, or is like, okay, this is to show something else?
I think the progression just happened naturally. Again, as I've matured and just progressed as an individual and who I am. But the purpose of this project is to inform. Because I've been away for a while, and I know there's people who probably have a ton of questions for me. So it's letters, like, to my fans and some of my friends, my enemies, my family, just letting everybody know, like, if you were wondering, this is the answer.
That's fire. That's fire, bro. Yeah, Miloh, bro. Fire, bro. Miloh's fire, bro.
Thanks.
Well, on that note, honestly, I don't think I have anything else, bro. Like, I could talk about a whole bunch of that other stuff forever, but then we'll be here for like another
2 more days.
Yeah, 2 more days and shit.
Easy.
Was there anything that you had on your mind? Anything you wanted to discuss?
I just want to tell everybody to treat each other better. Less judgment. You know, open your mind, open your hearts, open your arms to other people and embrace them, because they're just like you.
That's a fact. On that note, Miloh, I appreciate you again. And we're also going to do a live performance.
Yay!
Like, it scared the shit out of me. But you recording? Okay, so not only did we get an interview with Miloh, but now we're going to get some new music. Yeah, we're going to get some new music from young Miloh. Miloh, what you got, man? What you got for us?
That's right. Hey, y'all. Miloh Smith here again. I'm going to perform some new music. So this is the debut of my new single, Cutthroat. Are y'all ready?
Should I let go my pride or blow you away? I can't decide lately. I just break down and cry every day. When did my life change? And this is just another sad love song, just another bad bitch done wrong. Good girl gone bad, now she cut the road. Fuck y'all, yeah. I don't really even care though. I done cut so many people off. I don't care if we get along. No, not no more, yeah. I can't please everybody. Everybody not gon' like me. I'll be fine, mama. is how I got it. This is just another sad love song. Just another bad bitch done wrong. Good girl gone bad, now she cut through. Fuck it, y'all. Fuck it, y'all, yeah. Talking about revenge. Said I'm talking about revenge. Bitch, I'm all about a dollar. You niggas ain't talking about shit. Cause I'm talking about revenge. I said I'm talking about revenge. Bitch, I'm all about a dollar. You niggas ain't talking about shit. Putting 50 on my wrist. Getting fucked up, spending your advance. And since we talking about revenge, you know I had to talk about the Benz. I know I'm wrong, I know it don't make sense. I know you're probably wondering why I dissed you. Told you all it was to go, but you insist. Who knows, I might fuck on your friend. I don't give a fuck, nigga, I just want revenge. No, I'm finna boss up on a bitch. Been had it, they just couldn't see the vision. But these days it don't make no difference. Cause I'm talking about revenge. I said I'm talking about revenge. Bitch, I'm all about a dollar. You niggas ain't talking about shit. Said I'm talking about revenge. I said I'm talking about revenge. Bitch, I'm all about a dollar. You niggas ain't talking about shit. Yeah, talking about revenge. Said I'm talking about revenge. Bitch, I'm all about a dollar. You niggas ain't talking about shit. Talking about revenge. Talking about, yeah. So I'm all about a dollar. You niggas ain't.